The International Women's March brought out millions all over the nation, and activists shut down rush hour traffic in Las Cruces to protest immigration enforcement actions. Just two examples of what activists call a larger resistance against the policies of the Trump administration.
I'm not a rebel rouser about anything. I really think consensus is the only way you get anything done.
Retiree Mary Kay Hampton became politically active recently. She's an organiser with the Indivisibles, a protest movement with 6,000 groups in cities and towns all over the country, including Las Cruces.
I'm not someone that even became politically active until this year, literally, until this presidential election. I was so blown away by what happened with the election that I just didn't even conceive that we'd have this president. And I feel like I can't tolerate this without standing up and saying what I believe and trying to take a stand.
Tony Martinez is the Las Cruces group's chairman.
Our members of Indivisible are resisting some of the divisive rhetoric that's out there to ensure that our democracy works, that we do live in a free and fair nation that is for all and representative of all. And so we organize, we protest.
Doesn't this rhetoric sound familiar? In case it doesn't, remember Occupy Wall Street. The Occupy movement mobilised millions to protest and occupy public spaces, including the park in front of Las Cruces City Hall, where KRWG interviewed protester Richard Wright.
We're occupying in solidarity with Wall Street and trying to raise awareness of social and economic injustices taking place throughout the country. And it's just the beginning of, actual action.
The Occupy movement protested the corporate influence on politics, but according to Open Secrets, the elections that followed have seen record highs in dark money and outside spending by non-disclosing groups giving to political candidates. The Occupy movement has since fizzled out.
20th century, however, the late 20th.
Nancy Baker is an emeritus professor of government at New Mexico State University. We asked her about how protest movements can become effective political change movements.
I think there's overlap in both of them. A protest movement probably is more concerned about challenging particular actions versus a social change movement might be geared toward not simply tearing down something bad, obstructing something bad, but really a vision of where walls ought to go and what they ought to be.
Baker says what separates a political change movement is the utilisation of multiple tools beyond protesting in the street, like writing letters to the editor, filing lawsuits, public education campaigns, and campaigning for supportive political candidates. Baker says organisers of today's movements should be taking notes from the civil rights movement's playbook.
I certainly think the civil rights movement is a good lesson for all of us on how a very marginalized and legally marginalized community started organizing, started reaching across the aisle, started looking for allies in various different places, broadening their appeal, and really having a tremendous amount of personal courage, putting themselves on the front lines in very violent situations.
Indivisible member Mary Kay Hampton says sustaining momentum at a level where it can actually push political change is the major challenge facing any protest movement.
I think it's a fear of every movement. And I think something happens, that you either get too big and then people think, well, you're so big that you don't need me, or you just fizzle away because people lose their enthusiasm for making those changes. And we really want to keep people enthusiastic.
There are Indivisible groups organising all over southern New Mexico and the 2nd Congressional District. Hampton says the groups are unified by their primary political goal, holding Congressman Steve Pearce accountable.
We're all working for the same agenda, which is to make sure that we put someone else into that seat because we don't feel that Pearce is representing our values.
Indivisible Chairman Martinez says the Indivisible movement has already made major headway. He claims Pearce only came to visit constituents face-to-face in town halls after Indivisible and other groups pushed the congressman with public actions, including a fake town hall outside Pearce's offices in Las Cruces. But even before this fake town hall, Pierce's office told KRWG he planned to hold meetings in person, saying the congressman has always kept a busy public schedule with constituents, and this year will be no different. Martinez says the year ahead will also be a busy one for Indivisible and other groups.
We can flip the Congress to be a progressive Congress filled with more Democrats than Republicans. Then we've got the mechanism in order to be able to stop the Trump agenda.
Martinez says the next 18 months will be crucial for the Indivisible movement. There are 18 Indivisible groups organising in southern New Mexico. 300 local members make up the Indivisible group in Las Cruces. For KRWG, I'm Simon Thompson.